Anxiety disorders. So everyone has experienced some level of anxiety in their normal life. For some people, a spider or a tall ladder are enough to send chills down the spine. Psychopathology anxiety is far more severe than anxiety associated with normal life changes. So, I mean, like we all have some type of anxiety, right? But anxiety, like for it to be a mental disorder, it has to change your life. It has to disabilitate you. It has to inhibit you from, living a normal life. Generalized anxiety disorder, also known as free floating anxiety, is a psychological problem characterized by persistent and pervasive feelings of anxiety without any external cause. So you may experience times when your worries don't completely consume you, but you still feel rather anxious. May feel on edge about many or all aspects of your life. You may have a general sense that something bad is about to happen, even when there's no apparent danger. May not remember when you last felt relaxed or at ease. So GAD, or generalized anxiety disorder, often begins at an early age, and the signs and symptoms may develop slowly. So we're going to talk, throughout this unit, how some things do have a genetic link to it, and other things, you know, definitely have a nurture aspect. So we talk about nature nurture, and so definitely how you're raised and the experiences you have can lead to like higher levels of anxiety. But they have found like a genetic marker for it. So generalized anxiety disorder is pretty much there's no like one specific thing that causes anxiety. There's a lot of little things that can cause it. Panic disorder. Panic disorder is a disturbance marked by sudden and severe anxiety attacks that have no obvious connections with events in the person's life, usually free of anxiety between panic attacks. So this is like severe anxiety, um, and it can be caused for really no reason. Um, so when I was coaching girls basketball, we had a girl have a panic attack just watching the game. There was nothing going on. We thought she had like an asthma attack until her mom got there. So sometimes it can just come out of nowhere for like no real reason. So some of the symptoms for panic attack: rapid heart rate, sweating, trembling, shortness of breath, hyperventilation, chills, hot flashes, nausea, abdominal cramping, chest pain, headache, dizziness, faintness, trouble swallowing, a sense of impending death. I kind of feel like one of those commercials advertising medication with all the side effects. But as you can see, there's a lot of different things that can go, you know, a lot of symptoms with panic disorder. So you got to imagine, especially if one of these start happening, and that can kind of lead to another, and then more and more of these symptoms happening. So panic disorder, many people who suffer from panic disorder also have agoraphobia, a condition which involves panic that develops when people find themselves in situations from which they cannot easily escape. Crowded places, open spaces, things like that. This occurs in about 2% of Americans and affect women more than men. So phobia is just a fear, right? Just a fear of something. And there's literally hundreds, if not more, different types of phobias. Literally, there's phobias for everything, like bath water, like anything you can think of. Like there is a name for it, right? There's a phobia for it. Agoraphobia is the one like specific phobia you need to make sure that you do know. And agora, comes from the Greek word of like public open spaces used for assemblies and markets. So if you remember from ancient Greece, the word agora as a vocab term. This is what this means. So it's fear of like those open public spaces. So phobic disorder is kind of like what I was just talking about. So in contrast to panic disorder, phobias involve persistent and irrational fear associated with a specific object, activity, or situation. So while many of us have fears or dislikes of specific objects or situations, these only have become psychopathology when they have a cause of substantial disruptions in our lives. So this is what I was saying before. A lot of times, we don't like things, right? You might be scared of spiders, but if you have a panic attack or literally you can't go into a room with a spider, you know, that's when it becomes a phobia. Or like if there's a poster of a spider in a room and you can't even enter it, you know, that's when it becomes like a mental disorder. And these, we talked about the nature nurture, these are mostly learned, right? So we do have a natural fear of dangerous things, but a lot of these are irrational fears. Um, so most of these are learned, and you know, the more around people, I've seen people with phobias, and I've seen how they've been treated, and I kind of understand why they have it, because of the way they've been treated by maybe their parents. Preparedness hypothesis. So kind of going with what I was just saying. This theory suggests that we carry an innate, remember that means you're born with, biological tendency acquired through natural selection to respond quickly and automatically to stimuli that pose a survival threat to our ancestors. So we're naturally scared of things that can kill us, pretty much. Obsessive compulsive disorder. Right, so OCD is now its own category, no longer under anxiety. So on the list of disorders I gave you, like there's their own category that you find in the DSM. This used to be under anxiety, now it's its own separate category. So OCD is a condition characterized by patterns of persistent, unwanted thoughts and behaviors. So obsessive compulsive, make sure you know what obsession means and what compulsion means. And so obviously OCD is just a combination of the two. So obsession is a compulsive, often unreasonable idea or emotion. So obsession is you get this idea in your head and you just can't get it out. Compulsion is a repetitive or ritualistic behavior that a person performs to reduce anxiety. So you have this idea in your head and you can't get it out of your head until you do some type of action to get rid of it. And like OCD, I think should be definitely be on a spectrum, just because there's a lot of different levels of it. So like personally, I think I have like a small form of OCD. Like I like things very like organized, and there's certain ways I've done things growing up, even like by organizing my closets and stuff like that. But I don't have the like where I'd be diagnosed with it, because if it gets messed up, it doesn't really affect me. I'm not going to like kind of go off because of that. I just I have like some OCD tendencies, right? But it's not a disorder for me. So obsessive compulsive disorder, the compulsive component are repetitive, purposeful acts performed according to certain private rules in response to an obsession. Many characters on TV and in movies have OCD. Jack Nicholson in As Good as It Gets, you can see that's the title of the book in the upper right corner there, or sorry, the movie. He has this, like, he would bring like his own silverware when he went out to eat. As soon as he got home, he'd wash his hands with a bar soap and like throw it away. So he had like severe OCD. Like Monica on Friends, like she has it. It's not quite as severe as Jack Nicholson in As Good as It Gets. Monk, if you've ever seen the show Monk, he has OCD in there, and I'm sure you could think of some other ones to be ready. So be ready to discuss those if you have any other ones. But there's a lot of characters that we see with OCD. And lastly, when they are calm, people with obsessive compulsive disorder view their compulsions as senseless. However, when anxiety arises, they cannot resist performing the compulsive behavior rituals to relieve tension, right? And so anyone who like has this, they realize what they're doing is ridiculous, but they get that anxiety, they get that obsession until they do something to relieve it. And so I know I have some like tics, like some things that like will just drive my wife crazy, but it's I kind of do these little things, and then I guess maybe it calms me down. But it's not. I don't have it like where they have it, but I do have like those tendencies to do it, right? And that's what it is. They realize it's stupid, like to tap something or to whatever it might be, but they have to do it. Otherwise, they have that obsession, which leads to that level of anxiety. So OCD has a tendency to run in families. There is a clear genetic connection with it. Environment seems to play a factor as well. Behavioral therapy helps many OCD sufferers. So, the second half of this unit, we're going to talk about treatments. And behavioral therapy is a type of treatment that has worked well with it. And I will put on the YouTube playlist the video of Howie Mandel. A lot of you guys know him. He's a comedian. He hosted some TV shows. He has severe OCD, so it's a very good, you know, look in the life of Howie Mandel. He even did like a tour, a comedian tour of him in a bubble, kind of like making fun of himself for his OCD, and he's like a germaphobe as well. Um, but it's interesting to see behind the scenes of him and what he deals with, and like so he like shaved his head because it was like it made him feel clean. He's famous for his fist bumps, like when he hosts his show, which was Deal or No Deal, if you remember that show where you had to like pick the suitcases and stuff.